Hello everybody and welcome to another video. I don't really feel like doing this today, which is probably why I should do this today. We're gonna be reading for 24 hours. The last time I did this, I set a clock for 24 hours, a timer, and it took me like 3.5 days, I think, to get it down to 0, maybe almost 4 days. We're gonna do the real thing today. It is 10 to 9 in the morning. I'm going to set an alarm for 9 a.m. tomorrow, and I'm going to try to read that entire time. My dogs are walked. I have snacks ready. I have all of my meals ready. I have multiple sources of caffeine, charged batteries for the camera, and I think I can do it. The thing is, I don't think I can stay up for 24 hours straight. I'm just gonna try to stay up as late as I possibly can. And I know I can't sleep in and I'll be awake by 6:30, so that's fine anyway. So I'm hoping for like maybe 4 hours of sleep tonight, but other than that, reading hopefully the entire time. I am here with my stack of books, 4 of which are library books. So I'm really hoping to get all 4 of those read. I think that would be amazing. I'm trying to remember, I think the last time I read for the 24 hours, I might have done 6 books, which is a lot. So possibly most of these can get done. I have already started Good Americans. Nope, Real Americans by Rachel Khong, like over a week ago maybe, and I have barely read. Last time I wasn't reading a few weeks ago, it was because I was playing video games. Right now it's because I'm just binging TV shows. A couple of weekends ago it was off campus, and then I cut my own hair because I couldn't stop thinking about Allie's hair, and obviously my hair doesn't look like Allie's, but I'm still happy with it. Anyway, last weekend it was Heartstopper, so I've just kind of been on a binging, getting into every TV show possible right now. I don't watch a lot of TV, so this is kind of taking me by surprise. And rather than start a new one, now that I have time again, I'm gonna read for 24 hours. Zach's not here, so I won't have any distractions from him. Obviously, when my dogs need attention, I'm gonna give them attention. So I did take him for a long walk this morning so that I wouldn't have to walk them until after this is over. Like when this is over at 9 a.m. tomorrow, walk him and then take a nap or something. We'll see. Anyway, we're gonna start with Real Americans by Rachel Khong. Like I said, I started about a week ago. I read 28 pages, stopped in the middle of a chapter, and haven't touched it since. So I'm trying to remember what it's about. It starts with, in the 60s, 2 people stealing some art, but I think it's because it's going to be destroyed by the new government. So they're taking it to preserve it, as far as I understand. And then it starts with Lily on the eve of Y2K, and she is an intern at this place, and she meets a boy, and they kind of have an instant connection, and he is a rich bitch. So on their first date, they are flying to Paris, and I don't think she's used to that. My dogs are about to bark. I hear barking dogs. You guys just did so good. I did tire you out. So that's where I'm at. He seems to understand her and want to understand her and want to spend time with her, and he seems very smitten, but I'm not sure where it's going because I think that this is a generational story, so I'm wondering if it's gonna have like a surprise pregnancy thing. I didn't really read the synopsis. I read it a few years ago when I put this on my want to read list on Goodreads, and then I walked through the library and I found it. So that's kind of all I know. So I have my first coffee of the day. I just had breakfast. In 8 minutes, I'm gonna start reading for 24 hours. We'll see how it goes. That will not be my last coffee of the day. I also went and bought a Red Bull and caffeinated Diet Coke. I usually drink a decaf Diet Coke. And I have like more coffee and matcha. I'm gonna probably just sit on TikTok until 9, which is actually when my phone will brick me out of it anyway. So that's perfect timing. Okay, it's 9 a.m. Reading starts now. Wish me luck. Okay, I don't have too much to add. I'm now on page 65. It has spanned 2 years in that time since I updated you on page 25. And her and Matthew are super interesting. But what I'm gathering most from this very slice of life book, narrated from Lily, our main character's perspective, is that the writing is so nice. I have another case of wishing it wasn't a library book so that I could highlight and tab everything. It's beautiful writing. I'm gonna read this paragraph because I think it's very nice. I was used to an atmosphere of unease that traveled constantly with me. When I was with Matthew, it lifted. Both of us had been lonely. We weren't anymore. If our bodies disappeared, if they vanished, and what remained was only our souls, I was certain they would share a resemblance. Both of us had been formed like stones in a river, washed over by our parents' expectations, the forceful currents of them. No wonder we were drawn to each other. That's how this book is written. That is how her inner dialogue feels, like poetry. And then there's moments of outer dialogue with other people, and she just does not seem sure of herself at all. But I think she's just young and doesn't really know who she is. I think at this point she might be 23 or 24. She just seems lost. And that makes me sad for her because I think she could use some self-confidence. It's very interesting because she's Chinese American and her parents actually moved from China to the US as adults, but she is in this weird situation where they really tried to shed all of their past from China and become real Americans. So she doesn't really connect with people who grew up in Chinese immigrant homes, but she also doesn't really connect with Americans because she says the first thing they ask is, where is she from? I don't know, she just doesn't really feel like she fits in anywhere. So interesting. I have no idea what this book is about. I have no idea what's going to happen. So far, like I said, very slice of life. Life at her job and trying to make friends in her 20s, and life in New York, which is always fun to read about. I love reading about different people living in New York. Enjoying it. Happy that this is the book I'm starting with. The problem with knowing I have lots of snacks, it's like a road trip where as soon as you leave, you're like, can we just break open the snacks? It's not even 10 yet, and I just want to eat the food and make myself like a matcha latte, and I don't need any of that right now. I think I should definitely wait till after lunch, but we'll see how I feel later. So now I'm about halfway through Real Americans, and this book is getting a little bit messy and dramatic, and it's all familial drama. It's now the next generation, and we're in the 2020s, and we're seeing Lily as a mother to a teenage son, Nick, and now we are reading from his perspective, which is so interesting because the whole first part from Lily was a lot of it talking about how she was raised and her relationship with her parents, specifically her mother, and all the things that she would do differently than her parents did. And now we're seeing that through Nick, that some things she is exactly like her parents and other things she is trying to be complete opposite of her parents, both to the detriment of this kid who he doesn't feel like he can talk to her about things. She didn't think she could talk to her mom about things because her mom was disappointed in her always and didn't like the choices that she made in her life. And now Nick doesn't think he can talk to her because she tried so hard to let him make all of his own decisions, and he just wishes he had a normal life and a normal childhood. And she has kind of let him go without Wi-Fi and a cell phone, and he's 16 in 2021. He's like, all my friends have a phone. I'm always borrowing my friend's phone. So to the reader, it seems like maybe she's hiding things from him, and we don't know what those things specifically are.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
So I'm curious when it's going to fill in those gaps and how it's going to fill in those gaps. And there are other people that I would love perspectives from, but I'm not sure if we're going to get them, and I'm not going to look. Because Nick's perspective started less than halfway in, I am hopeful that we'll get somebody else's. I don't know if it's going to go down a generation or up to his dad or somebody else. I'm not sure, but I kind of hope we get something else. I am still really enjoying the book. I'm still really enjoying the writing, and I am very curious where it's going to go. And I do like a character-driven story. I really, really do. I enjoy reading this book. There are times when I wish I had my phone, but I think that's just kind of where my headspace has been for the past month, and it's not any indication of how the book is going. I have no idea yet what the point of this story is. I think that's what I'm curious about. Current thoughts at 11:30 and halfway in. Okay, I just finished Nick's part at kind of a weird part, and now I'm starting part 3 from May in 2030, so in the future. Why did I put this camera so low? What the... But I did just finish Nick's part. It kept the story very interesting. I feel like Nick has the same lack of confidence that I was saying his mom has, but somehow his was way more relatable to me, and something about it just made me feel more empathetic towards him. Not that I necessarily think you have to find people relatable to be empathetic. I definitely don't. But I think Lily kind of created her own circumstances, and Nick was kind of thrust into these circumstances, so I felt worse for him for the way that he felt. I don't know if that makes sense. I also think Nick's lack of confidence was more about fitting in with people, whereas his mom's was kind of not wanting people to know that she was poor or worse off and wanting to seem better to them, whereas he just wanted to fit in with them. I feel like I'm not making any sense at all, but I feel a lot for these characters, and the way that they portrayed their emotions was done so well. I felt like I was there in that moment in their head, understanding it from their perspective individually. So I'm hoping that this third perspective does the same for me. I'm sure it will, if this is any indication. And there were still so many parallels between the two of them. It ranged from the big ones to the way that they talk about wine and understanding cheap versus expensive wine, or talking about how they spend money when they're alone. And some of these parallels are different and some of them are very similar. And especially how they think about how others are perceiving them. And they have one more similarity that I don't really know where it's gonna go. So I'm not going to mention it because it's kind of a big thing. It's introduced as a big thing and then it's kind of ignored periodically. So I'm kind of curious about if it has to do with this larger plot point that has arrived in the book, that I'm curious to see where that goes. Kind of about genetics and genetic testing. A lot of the morality of that rolls into this idea of Nick always feeling like he has to make it a race to tell people that he's half Chinese. But whereas his mom was seen as too Chinese to be considered American, he's considered too American to be Chinese. And then the people who maybe should relate to him or understand where he's coming from don't. And so I'm really sad for him because it seems so isolated. I'm actually really sad that his section is done, and I hope we get a lot of him in the next section, because I think despite all of these things that he was going through, he is going to grow up to be a well-rounded human being, mostly thanks to his mom, but also the familial problems are never ending for this kid, and so I do feel really bad for him. He has a lot of emotions. It is 1 o'clock and I think I have like 100 pages left. So less than 2 hours left. I think it's not what I expected it to be, but I am enjoying it. And I think it's actually important that I'm reading it this fast now, because I don't know if I would have drawn the same parallels between characters if I had put too much time in between reading from one person to the next. So, moving back to the couch now that I'm done lunch. All right, so it's just after 3 and I have finished book number 1. I have a lot of thoughts. Oh, this is the problem with updating constantly and just picking up my next book, is I haven't thought about a rating. I will think about it while I speak. On top of the parallels that I mentioned in the first 2 parts, the third part adds even more parallels. This is generations of cursed soulmates, and being known is more important than being loved. Change over time. Time as a commodity, bracelets, left-handedness, nature versus nurture. The parallels are endless, and that includes bringing in these little moments that kind of explain earlier moments in a really beautiful roundabout way, and it really actually makes you wonder about the genetics versus the nurture part of it, which is, I think, where my downfall is a little bit in this book, is I am not scientifically inclined at all, and this gets very scientific at some points, that I found myself not wanting that part of it, even though it was important. It was a little bit too much for me personally. I'm sure most people would probably be okay with it. But on top of that, this is just a story of people making choices, and those choices being a little bit selfish, but also you can't blame them for that because these are huge life choices that do impact others, but they also impact them so significantly. And so I don't think any of them are bad people. They're just human, which is the best way to have a character-driven story. I think there isn't like a hero or a villain, depending on who you ask, I guess, in the book. I marked down a page because Nick said something. Somehow I was self-absorbed without even knowing who I was or who I should be. An exasperating combination. And I think that's the crux of the story. All of these people seem slightly self-absorbed and selfish without really having the confidence to be that way, but also I think that's just human experience and just something that is inside of most people if they choose to take that route. So, very interesting. The third part I would say was the most boring for me, and I kind of wish they had put it first. I understand why it was last, but at some points I found myself wishing that it wasn't at the end because I liked Nick so much. I think I would have liked to have ended with his perspective. I think it's gonna be a 3.5. If you would have asked me when I was finishing Nick's part, I probably would have said a 4-star, but I'm gonna rate this a 3.5, which is so my average that I'm not surprised by that. And now I have to choose another book. So that took 6 hours, which took longer than I thought it would. So I'm for sure gonna be able to read 3 books. I am debating between 2 library books right now, a fantasy and a thriller. Part of me wants to save the thriller for tonight, but then if I don't finish it before I fall asleep, I'll have to read it in the morning, and I think I'd rather read the whole thing today. So I think I'm gonna go for the thriller now. So the next book is We Used to Live Here, which I chose, I think, for my July TBR, which is still July when I'm filming this. I just picked it up from the library. Again, just like the other one, I do a monthly library browse, and I kind of just pick things up as I see them. And this is about a couple who move into a new house to flip it, and then the old family comes and are like, hey, we used to live here, can we come inside? And I think that half of them go missing, and as much as they try, they can't get them out of their house. I don't know any more than that, but I am excited to read a thriller. I don't read a lot. This is me getting out of my comfort zone with genres, which I have been trying to do more often anyway, so I think this is a good time to do that. I'll start this now, and I will keep you updated. I already had my first caffeinated Diet Coke and jalapeno Cheetos. If you're not eating jalapeno Cheetos, way better than any other kind, by the way. The Elite chip. I should drink some water too. I think that'd be really good. I also could pee. And the dogs are about to get a little bit more exuberant. That is 3:30 to them. So I might have to take some little pauses just to play with them, give them some attention. Okay, I am how far in? Like 80 pages. And it's definitely giving scary movie vibes, 100%. I'm actually glad that I didn't wait till tonight to read this because I'm already a little bit freaked out. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat though, but currently I am getting Paranormal Activity 3 culty vibes combined with like Insidious, he can't be in any photos vibes because Eve, one of our main characters, our main character, says there's not a lot of photos of her and she doesn't want to be in pictures, and instantly my mind went to Insidious. So that's interesting. But I'm also super guilty of always trying to find connections with things that I already know just to make my brain think that I can kind of see where things are going, because I definitely enjoy predictability, which I don't think this has so far. I have no idea where this is going. Currently, one of the little girl, while they were looking at the house, decided to hide and then came back like an hour later. And then the road closed, so now they have to stay in the house. I thought when reading the synopsis and hearing about this book that the family would be creepy and very obviously themselves be this dark force, but I actually think it's either the house or something that's following this family and they are just victims of it as well. I don't know, that's just the vibe I'm getting. So 80 pages in, but just thought I'd give a little bit of an update, almost a third of the way through. It is a quick read, which is nice, but also every other chapter is like a document and it's very small writing. So I am personally struggling with that a little bit. I'm also very tired and I already had the Diet Coke. So I'm thinking I'm gonna try to hold out and maybe I'll have a Red Bull with dinner and then a coffee after dinner. For now, I will keep going with just water. I hope I can last till like 2. I have never successfully pulled an all-nighter, maybe like twice in my life, and I hated it both times. And that was when I was a teenager, so we'll see. Anyway, just sitting here creeped out. I was also hoping that this would be set in BC because that's where the author is from. And on my little book bingo in my reading journal, I need a book set in BC, but it's set in Oregon, so that's fine, but swing and a miss. This document that I just read is about sleep paralysis and as someone who suffers from that sometimes, not fun to read about. Didn't enjoy that. What the hell is going on? It's creepy. This book's real creepy. I'm real creeped out. I have no idea what route it's going, and it's weird that it's making me feel jumpy like a movie would, even though it's a book. I'm a little freaked out. I'm gonna make dinner, eat while I start my next book, and then I will come back with some completed thoughts to talk about this now that I'm done. It's 6:30, so that took me 3 hours. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Oh, thanks. The air fryer's on. I'm sorry if that's too loud, but that's what my dinner is in. I liked this book. I didn't love it. I think it was engaging, and I probably would have read it in a day whether I was doing this challenge or not. So that is good. I liked it. I didn't love it. I can't get away from the fighting. Usually I would stop filming and do it later, but because I'm in a time crunch for this, I'm just gonna have to put up with it. They're real cute though. I feel like I invested too much time and thought. Maybe I can leave the floor. Okay, I feel like I invested too much time and energy and thought for what I got out of this book at the end. I feel like I can't say anything about the plot whatsoever except for haunted house. The vibes are always just a little bit off. I feel like my heart rate was higher than normal the entire time I read this book. It gave me feelings that I want from a thriller, but there was kind of a disconnect for me at the end. And I don't want to say I think there was a plot hole. There was not a plot hole. I just feel like there was a gap that could be filled with a little bit more information. Simultaneously love and hate that there are so many unanswered questions. So if you don't like a book that you don't get all the answers you're looking for, this is not the book you should read. Sometimes I do like filling those gaps in my head myself, but for some reason this one, it just is hitting the mark a little bit. It's probably mostly personal preference. Also because so many people told me how much they liked this book and I've only seen glowing reviews. Maybe my hopes were higher than they could have been. Oh, I think it would make a great movie or episode for a TV show though. Like, it is a really good book. So I'm afraid we're sitting with another 3.5 here because it gave me things that I wanted to feel and a story that I was interested in while also maybe not hitting the mark that I had placed in my head for it. Just quite eerie. And I'm glad that I didn't wait until bedtime to read this because I think it would have given me scary dreams because there's just enough of like haunted house ghost story going on that is confusing that I know I would dream about it if this was the last book I read before bed. And now while I eat dinner and crack a Red Bull, I'm gonna start One for My Enemy by Olivie, another library book that I have. But I'm just curious if I'll be able to get another book in if I can finish this before I go to sleep. Yeah, this should take me probably till midnight, possibly longer. We will see. I actually know nothing about this book. I don't think I've ever seen someone read it in a reading vlog. I briefly glanced at something. I think when I was choosing this for my TBR, I saw all the character things and all the different families. So it seems like maybe political fantasy. I'm not sure. Only thing I read from Olivie Blake is the first 2 Atlas books. The 3rd Atlas book is on my TBR for next month, so I will get to that. But I enjoy those books more than other people do, so I'm hoping I feel good about this one as well. So this is the next book I'm starting. I will let you know a little bit of what it's about once I know. It says modern day Manhattan, so urban witch political fantasy. Sounds kind of fun. I knew they'd find me. I hear a dog. I hear you. Oh, you're both here? Hi. Now they're just gonna fight here instead, and I'm gonna go back downstairs to the other floor. Though I will say, these are starting to bug me. I think I'm gonna put a headband on. All of her books do this then, because the Atlas ones have the characters like that too. And we've already been told of the families, and now Act 1 starts with a Romeo and Juliet excerpt. That scares me that this is going to be a little bit tragic. Enter the Fedorov's Sons. Is this like a play? What am I reading? I already like it from the beginning. This is fun. It's not good for my posture. Easy dinner, sorted. Guys, this is Romeo and Juliet between warring witch families. I'm already obsessed. I'm 40 pages in and I'm already obsessed with this book. The writing is good. The characters are good. The banter is already good. They just met and I love it already. This is kind of making me want to watch the 90s Romeo and Juliet. Basically, she has a shit ton of sisters and he is one of 3 brothers, and his one brother, his oldest brother, did something super shady. The oldest sister from the other warring witch family went and hurt him, and now they're trying to get payback. And these 2 youngest ones are kind of just caught in the mix of the family trouble, and it's very good. That's my whole update. Just saying I'm enjoying myself. You know what? It's 7:30. I'm gonna go put on some pajama pants, some sweatpants. Might make myself a tea. It's gonna be decaf, but that's okay because the Red Bull is already kicking in. I just could use a warm drink and I'm not ready for a coffee yet. That'll probably be like a 10 p.m. thing. What am I doing to myself? Reading fantasy instrumental playlist on from Spotify. Living the dream. Oh, they're so cute. Oh. Two things about this book. 1, I am not even halfway through. I'm just about to start part 3, and I already want to flip back to the beginning to see people's reactions to things knowing what I know now, and I'm not even halfway. Usually that's like at the end when things start happening, you're like, oh my goodness, now I'm flashing back to these conversations from the beginning, and I want to reread them just to see how people are reacting and what's going on in their heads. And I already feel that way because there's already plot twists happening. I am so invested. 2, I'm gonna buy this book one day. I already know that I'm gonna want to reread it unless something tragic happens and I hate it. But at this point, I love this. I'm so sad it's a library book. There's just so many nice moments that I want to mark down. It's not following a flow that I expected, which I like. I am going to now look it up on Spotify. I know it exists on Spotify. I already checked. And I'm going to play the audiobook for a little bit while I take a shower and wash my face and stuff because I'm feeling kind of grody. I think I'm going to resist reading in bed as long as I possibly can. More at risk of falling asleep in bed than I am on the couch. So I am going to try to stay down here as long as I can tonight. It's 9 o'clock. I don't know if I said that. In summary, very excited to keep reading this tonight. I'm having a latte at 10:30 p.m. which makes me feel crazy. But at least it's a good enough book to keep going. The problem is I am just under halfway and it feels like it's all kind of culminating into something big right now. So I have no idea what that means. I also don't remember Romeo and Juliet timeline enough to know if this is right to fit with that. But I think this is too early. It's very dramatic, but I'm having a coffee. I'm having one of my favorite chocolate bars, which is Dairy Milk Oreo. It does not escape me that I just binge watched Heartstopper, and it is also Nick's favorite chocolate bar, which is crazy because when I saw that in the show, I was like, hey, that's the one I always buy. It's delicious. I'm just going off vibes here. And like enough people know about Romeo and Juliet that that part is clear of what it's about. Also, there's enough extra stuff going on that's all really important. I'm finding the matriarch of the one family, the patriarch of the other family, a little bit tedious maybe to follow, and the succession of it all, but I think I feel that way about Romeo and Juliet as well. I don't remember. I read the play in like high school. I am still enjoying my time, rest assured. Caffeine at 10:30 p.m. feels like a crime, in case you want proof. My only update is that it's midnight. I'm 250 pages in, and it's making me really sad. It's making me so sad. I'm a little bit surprised I haven't cried yet. I'm not sure if it's the book or if it's the fact that it's midnight, but I would think that would make me more susceptible to tears. So I don't know, but I'm really sad. I'm gonna try to keep going as long as I can. I don't know if that last coffee has even kicked in. I'd like at least 1 more hour. Okay, I made it to 1 o'clock and my eyes are closing. I feel like I'm wearing drunk goggles. 2 quick thoughts about the book. There's a character named Bryn who is a fae, and he reminds me so much of Magnus from the Mortal Instrument series, who is, in my opinion, one of the only good characters in that series. So I am loving that. Just like the snarky comebacks and making deals with people and having them agree to things, but maybe he knows the full picture more than they do. I'm really enjoying that part. Second thing is Olivie Blake is great at writing characters who are unlikable. She did this in the Atlas series too. These people are unlikable simply because of their personal creed. And at first you're like, man, I hate this person. And then she slowly releases more information about maybe how they got to feel that way. And you start to feel empathy for them. And I think it's a super niche gift that an author can have for a character to be so blah. But then eventually you're like, I kind of get it. Still really enjoying it. I just read the longest chapter that I didn't really care for from someone's perspective we haven't gotten too much of yet. It does switch perspectives a lot, and I am not bothered by any of them except for this one. But other than that, I am still having a very good time, and I think that I'm going to rate this very highly. But yes, it is 1 a.m. Sorry, 12:57. Need to go to sleep for a few hours. I'm sure I'll wake up early. I always do. I set an alarm for 6:55 just in case, because I feed the dogs at 7. So I will at least get enough time after waking up to finish this book. I'm not sure if it's going to take the true Romeo and Juliet experience yet and be completely tragic, or if it's going to turn it around. I have no idea based on how it is now. Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. And I won't tell you once I do know. But currently, loving it. Not sure how it's gonna end. We'll see you in the morning. I have woken up naturally an hour before my alarm. It's 5:40, so I guess I'll keep reading. Just need my eyes to wake up a little bit. Let's get back into it. It's 7:20 and I've just finished One for My Enemy. I don't know what to say. I don't think it's 5 stars. I really was hoping it was, and I was thinking it was going to be, but it's not, and I'm not sure why. I think I'm gonna give it 4.5, which feels mean every time I do a 4.5. In my head, I'm like, why can't I just give it a 5? But something was missing for me. Just that 5-star feeling, just the feeling wasn't there. But it is a very good book with very good writing, and I definitely think I would reread it one day. So I'm going to add it to my list of books to buy if I ever see that it's on sale, because this was really good. And now I know I should just buy all of Blake books, probably, if I like her writing as much as I do. I think did the perfect amount of being a retelling of something classic and popular and famous, and paying homage to that while still being its own story completely, in the fact that I had no idea what was going to happen at the end. So in that way, very well done. I still love the Bryn of it all, and I stand by the fact that he is the Magnus of this story. And actually it ended with a bit of a question, kind of like the last book I read. This ended with a bit of an open-ended question that I could maybe fill in the blanks myself for, and I am doing that in my head, and I will be looking up some theories that people have online once I'm done this challenge in a couple of hours. Can't decide who my favorite character is because I like so many of them, and that's always a good thing as well. There is an epilogue, and it's just a couple pages from one person's perspective, and I wish maybe it was a little bit more well-rounded than that. Maybe that's why I'm giving it a 4.5 instead of a 5. Just the ending wraps up pretty quickly, more quickly than I think I would like it to. It's 4.5 stars. That's great. And now, yeah, like I said, I have an hour and a half left. I was gonna start Of Darkness and Light on my Kindle because that's on my TBR, but tomorrow's the last day of the month, and it's, I think, over 800 pages. So instead, I'm gonna start Ignite Me, because I just kind of need to keep going with this series. Which even one is this? Number 3? Book 3. I think the last thing I read might have been Adam's novella, and I am an Adam hater. So I'm really hoping this gets better. So yeah, I'm gonna start this now. I'm gonna read for the next hour and a half, maybe more. Maybe I'll keep going, who knows? So this is book number 4, which is book number 3 of Shatter Me, which currently is like a 2.5 star series for me. So I think if this one doesn't go well, I might be done with it. This will be the deciding book for me. Okay, I forgot how fast these books read. I'm 40 pages in, and so far it's just a one-on-one conversation between Juliet and one of our other characters, and it kind of feels like a play, because it's just them talking at each other and rehashing past events and reordering them in their minds to kind of justify their actions to one another. And so far it's the most interesting beginning of any book in the series so far, so that's good, because I was a little worried going into this. I still am not gonna love it, I don't think, but it is feeling a bit like a stage play of like, he says this, she says this, and it's kind of happening in one room so far. So I'm just picturing it like it's a play, which is kind of fun. Anyway, they're both learning a lot about each other right now, so that's good. Still over an hour left because this book reads very quickly. I am halfway through. This is such a quick read. I'm done the 24 hours, but I'm definitely gonna finish this by tomorrow. I will probably outro this video then with my thoughts, I guess, because may as well. It wouldn't make sense not to. So far, by far, best book in the series. The novellas, I think, were important to read, but boring. The first couple of books that were setting up the story, I found Juliet just kind of annoying, but she's finally coming into herself in this book, and I really, really, really appreciate it. Don't love a love triangle, and that's what these books have, so I do struggle with that, but it's finally kind of culminating into something better than just being a love triangle, so I'm appreciating that as well. I like the douchey character that Warner brings to the table. I'm enjoying myself. I definitely would have liked these books better when I was younger, a teenager, obviously. But I think for a fun little aside read, it is not a bad place to go. So at this point, if it keeps going the way it is, this book, I will continue the series. I do wish maybe it wasn't just from Juliet's point of view. I think I wish we got multiple POVs, but also I'm not mad enough for that to be a negative. It's just an observation or a feeling I have. Anyway, I'm gonna put this down for now. I'm going to scroll on my phone for a little bit, watch some TV, take a nap in a little bit. I will come in for an outro for this video tomorrow. I finished Ignite Me on July 31st as planned. Read it last night after dinner on the deck. It was really nice. And I think this is my favorite book in the series so far. I also realized at the end this was meant to be a trilogy because it ends just like in a perfect bow, kind of. But it ends very abruptly, I think. I really appreciated the direction that it took, but there's a decision that Juliet makes for herself that kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere. I think that's strange because you're in her head the whole time, so I feel like it should have made more sense or aligned a little bit more. I'm not going to say what it is, but I think it's just to lead to the end of the book. So it's interesting now that there are more books. I actually do have the next one, and then after that I have to buy the next 2. I think there's 6 altogether, right? If you're not including the novellas. I think I will continue this series because I liked this one the best. It's not a fantasy or a dystopian. I actually would call this a romance book first with those elements added, and I think that's why I liked it the best, because I don't really vibe with the actual plot of these books. I find it a little bit repetitive and kind of a copy of other books that do the same thing, but this is in a worse way in my opinion. Like, it's not my favorite plot line. But I did enjoy the romance part of this book specifically, and Juliet was the least annoying in this book. She's really come into herself, and I so appreciate that. I do find that the middle was very repetitive, and the same things kept happening, and the same conversations kept happening, and then all of a sudden the end happened. So as much as I liked it, I did still think it could have been done better. It's very simple writing. Like, it's not life-changing. I think at some point I was hate reading a little bit, but I still didn't want to put it down. I at no point wanted to DNF this book, but I was hate reading it a little bit. So I don't really know how I feel about that. I think I'm going to give it a 3 stars, which is not bad. It's just like even keeled. Read it in 2 days easily. It's an easy, fast read. It just wasn't my favorite story of all time. I think if the characters didn't grow into themselves a little bit more and there wasn't some character development, I would have been a different story, but because we had those things, I could appreciate it for what it was. And that ends this video, which ended the other day, but I had to wrap it up. I figured I kind of hate when people stop their videos in the middle of a book, so I didn't want to be that person. And now it's August 1st today, so I'm going to start a new reading vlog that will come out for you guys next week. Look for that one, but thanks for coming. I think I will try something like this again, even if it's not 24 hours. It might just be like a from when I wake up to when I go to sleep reading vlog. Try to read as much as I can in a day. Maybe I'll try that every once in a while because I do enjoy it, especially when I'm kind of getting into a slump and I have to force myself to read. It feels like a successful way to get back into it, because now I am excited to start reading my August TBR. I'm looking at the stack and I just kind of want to get into it. So I'm gonna do that starting today. So thanks for coming, and I will see you next week with another video. Bye.